So our next step is to place our text, our headlines, and our captions into the spread. So you need to make a bunch of boxes. So you click on your text tool, and then you can drag open where you want your text. So I want to have a big headline up here, and I want a secondary headline just below. So I'm going to make another text box here. I'm going to have my body text over here. I also know that I want to make a small uh, wrapped text pulled quote over here, so I'm going to make an extra little text box for that. I'm going to make one text box down here for my captions for these set of photos. I'm going to make one up here for this set of photos. And down here I have a headline that will go in here, and I have some body text that I'm going to use over here, and I'm going to make a larger box. So those are the places where my text goes, and I got ready ahead of time, and I have all of the text that I'm going to use for the spread already typed out and ready to go. So I'm just copying and pasting it from a text document, so I can click on my different boxes, and I'm going to pull my pieces of text, and I'm going to place them into the boxes where I need them. In the case of the captions, I'm going to grab them all at once, and I'm going to copy them into this box here. And you'll notice that when I place text that's too long, it gives me a little plus sign down here telling me that there is more text to be had. So I'm going to take my black pointer tool, I'm going to click on this little red box here, and then I can click on my text box up here, and now I know my text will flow from here to up here into my captions. So that's something I will work with later on. I also have a separate headline for my little box down here. This is going to be a sidebar. So I'm going to put a background and other things in there, which I'll show you momentarily. So I'm going to take my text and place that into those boxes. And again, I'm going to wrap this text around this photo, so I will show you how that is done momentarily as well. So now I have my different text in here. The two things that I don't have as part of my layout are my headline and my secondary headline, and I can just click in here and I can do and type my headline in as well. So you can obviously type right in here, you can use spell check, and you can do whatever you need to. So March break trip. So now I have my styles. Now you could play in here, and you can take letters, and you can choose your font, and it gives you a preview here, so you could choose any font you want. You can apply colors to the text, and if it's black and white, you go to a little flyout, change it to CMYK, and you can choose any color you want for your headline. So you could there's all types of settings you can play with. But if you're working with a yearbook, then you probably have styles set ahead of time. So I'm going to go to my paragraph styles, and I don't actually have any. So I'm going to go back to my template that my editors have created, and I'm going to import my styles. So I'm going to go to my paragraph styles, go to the little flyout, and I'm going to go down to load paragraph styles, and I will go to my template, so wherever it's located, and I'm going to click on that and say open. And it will give me a list of styles that this template has. There's lots of styles in here, and I can say yes, I want to use all of those. So I'm going to click OK. Now it's preloaded all of these paragraph styles in for me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and I'm going to apply these character styles. Now my headline is obviously my main headline. My secondary headline, click on secondary headline. My body text, I'm click on body. My little pulled quote is called a pulled quote. So if all of these styles are set up ahead of time by your editors, then all you need to really do is click. My captions are captions, and you notice I've clicked on here. It also changed the style up here at the same time. This down here is a reverse headline because I'm going to put it on a red background. So I'm going to click on that. It disappears, but it's actually there in white. So I'll show you how to deal with that in a second. And down here, my reverse body, I'm going to click on that as well. So you can see the text on top of my photo, but I've applied all the styles. So it took seconds, and I have a very consistent book if I create my styles ahead of time. Now I've noticed that my box here isn't quite in the column, so I'm just going to do a couple little tweaks make sure my boxes are in the right places. And there we go. And this here, I'm going to show you how to create your color box behind your object. So I'm going to take a box tool, so the one below the photo one. I'm going to create a box that fits behind this entire block. I'm going to pull in here, and I'm going to look for my colors. Now I could go to my swatches, and I don't see what I have. I have some good colors in here. So I'm going to pick this red, which is in here, but you notice that's my outline color. So I'm going to switch to my fill color, and that's a good red. And if I don't really like that, I could also have it selected, take my eyedropper and say I'm going to pick up the red from his jersey. So I'm going to click that in here, and oops, I'm going to apply that in here, but let's go undo that here. I'm going to select my box, and again the problem was here I had my outline selected, and so it's selecting the wrong thing. So I'm going to make sure I have my object selected, take my eyedropper and click on his jersey, and it applied that same color of red. So that's a great way to make your spread look consistent if you do that. So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to go Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. So now it's behind this entire block, so that fits nicely. And no, the only thing I notice is that this text box is a little too high now for this color box. So I'm going to pull that down, and I'm going to pull in my text box as well, so that it fits nicely into this space. And I will show you with this here, I will want to wrap that around my photo. So I'm going to click on my photo, and I can either go up on the toolbar and use my text wrap tools here, but you notice the spacing is very tight. So instead I'm going to go to my text wrap box here, and I'm going to choose this one. I can choose different ones behind the text, wrapped around the text, and so on. With this one I can choose the spacing on each of the sides, which is good. I'm going to unlock it so I can choose them individually, and I'm going to say to the right of the photo I want to have a half a pica spacing. To the right of that photo, but the problem is, you see what it's doing, it's taking the photo underneath, so that's no good for us. So we're going to cancel that. We're going to go back and make sure we don't have the photo inside the box selected on the circle, but the actual box. Now if I go to the text wrap, it actually behaves properly. So sometimes you have to be careful what you've selected, and so you don't get yourself into trouble. At the top, I'm not going to give it 6 picas because that's a lot of space. I'm just going to do P3. I'm going to play with that manually to make sure that's going to fit. So now if I have my spacing, it doesn't look too bad, and it goes right across here. And for readability, you could choose to have this in 2 columns, but I think it works quite well the way it is. So I'm going to pull this down and have my photo. Now my text is a little bit too long, so to get that to fit, I'm going to go into my photo, and I'm going to drag the photo down a little bit more, a little bit more, and here we go. So holidays is my last word, so I can go in here. That seems awfully small photo for that little group, that little photo down here. So I'm going to make sure I'm maximizing my space. So again, I'm going to pull that down, and I'm going to click on that photo. Now I can't select that photo because it's underneath. So with my pointer tool, if I hold down my control key, I can actually get at that image that's behind, and now I can pull it up until holidays fills that perfectly. I can click on the circle and readjust them so that they fill that box nicely, and I have that photo in my layout. I'm going to move that up so I can see my red outline all the way around. I want to do the same with this one. I want to see my red outline, and I'm going to leave that the way it is. So I've got my text here, and my homestay lineup I've moved down already, so that fits nicely. So that text works. My body text, the other one, again, I want to take this text box that I've made, and my text, if I bring it in here, it's on top. So again, I'm going to use my text wrap. I'm going to go to this box here, and I'm going to play around with the spacing. I'm saying, okay, I want it a little bit more up top, and I want it a little bit on each side. So I'm actually going to lock that up, and then I'm going to give it P0, P6 all the way around. There we go, and I'm going to pull that in just a bit so it looks consistent. And again, my body text is a little too long, so I'm going to pull this up until all of my body fits. And there we go, my body fits. I can move the entire box down a little bit, almost looks like there's a half pica spacing because of the line spacing. So this is how you can fudge it a little bit. You can now move your text down a little bit so it lines up with your eyeline. This is where the eyeline comes in very handy. I can just pull this down just a bit. There we go. And you notice as I'm moving it, because of the location of this box, it changes the way my text works. The other thing I want to do is this text is actually right across and it's hard to read this way. So I want to set this up into columns. So up at the top I can go into 2 columns. Oops, not my text box, my pull text, but my box around the outside. So I select that, go to 2 columns, and make sure my spacing again is consistent with the rest of my layout. So I'm going to change that to 0p6 for consistent spacing. That looks nice. Now I can do the same thing with my headline. I'm going to bring that up, but I noticed that I used a lowercase m when I typed, so I'm going to fix that. And my headline, 2 weeks in Japan, is okay. I'm okay with that spreading on top of my file. That all looks good. The only one is here, my captions. And when I'm looking at those, they don't quite fit in here either. So I want to make sure that all my spacing works out okay on those. And again, I don't think that style is actually correct. I'm going to select my caption style. I'm going to single click, places your cursor. Double click will select a word. Triple click will select a line. Quadruple click will get you a paragraph, and 5 times will get you the entire text. And if you do 6 times, you'll get a sore finger. Now, in my paragraph styles, I'm going to go back to and click on my captions. There we go, that's better. My caption style is actually set up so it lines up with the spine so that it's nicely indented. So now I'm going to make sure that between each of my captions I have a return so that we can see that spacing so it looks nice and consistent. I have 1 space between each of the quotes. Okay, and I need 1 more line here to get the last word in for my quote, and I'm going to go up here, do the same thing here, and okay, and this is actually a longer quote. It's quite a chunk, so I don't actually, it's sort of a selective thing. I don't actually need to change anything with that. I'm quite happy the way it is, but I'm going to pull it down so I don't have some trapped white space underneath. So that's pretty good. And again, I'm going to go View, Fit Spread in Window, or actually Fit Spread, not so View, Fit Spread in Window, not Page. So I get the entire spread. Turn off my paragraph styles palette. Go back to my preview so I can see what my spread looks like. That's pretty good. And I'm almost done, but this would work as a basic yearbook spread. And next I'm going to show you some tricks how to make some special effects.